What's up, everybody? Tyler DeLuca here, back with my 3 takeaways from this past week in women's basketball. Let's get into it. First off, the ACC. The ACC is going to be messy. Again, this isn't, anything really new with the ACC, but the ACC is going to be messy regardless. For me, in my eyes, I'm not 100% sure there's a great team in the ACC. But there's a whole lot of good to really good in that conference. I mean, even just in this past week, we saw number 13 Virginia Tech beat number 3 NC State on the Liz Kitley game winner, where she just had an absolute game, 27 points in that one. I mean, one of the premier bigs in the ACC, which is such a guard-heavy conference, Liz Kitley stands out in that as one of, the college players putting up some of the best stats in the nation and showing up in big games a lot of time. I mean, I feel like, I don't have the exact number, but I know she's had plenty of game winners. Like, it feels like Virginia Tech, she gets at least a couple every season is what it feels like, but she gets one against NC State. But it doesn't end there in the ACC, with North Carolina dropping off both Syracuse and Notre Dame in back-to-back games, 2 top 25 opponents from when they played. Even Clemson got close to Florida State this past week. Wasn't able to pull off the upset, but they were right in there. And Clemson is about a 500 team. So when you're just looking across this conference, it's gonna be a bloodbath. It is gonna be messy. I genuinely, it's hard to pick who I think. I think NC State, they were missing a couple players in that game against Virginia Tech. I think they have the ability to be great. I think they're right on that threshold of really good to great. I think they're still the best team in the ACC, even after dropping this game to Virginia Tech. But man, come postseason time, and really throughout this entire regular season, there's going to be a lot of coin flips in these games in the ACC. And for me personally, I'm just super excited to watch it, because there's one thing I love about college basketball. It's the chaos, and the ACC is going to be full of it this year. From the ACC to the Big 12, let's talk about Baylor. I mean, they look legit. I'm not gonna lie. There's been something missing for me when I'm watching Baylor. I can't exactly put my finger on it. I think it's that they don't really have a true big that comes in and can kind of give them those minutes. But my doubt is just increasingly proved wrong. They look great in that second half against TCU. The first half, that 2-3 zone they were struggling. Even though the threes were falling. There were times where it was just so shaky, like they didn't know what to do. But that second half, that second half against TCU, they just kind of decided at halftime, they were just like, hey, we're not going to miss a shot. They're not going to make a shot. And TCU just couldn't really do anything about it. So incredibly impressive performance there against a fellow undefeated team, a fellow top 25 team at the time of that game. Big win for Baylor. And I like the way that they get it done, in the sense that they have 4 players that are in double-figure scoring, 2 right on the outside at 9.8 and 9.6, so right on the outside threshold of that. They don't really have a star go-to player directly, not in my eyes. They move the ball a lot on offense, and I like the way that they operate. I do. Right now, they look like they are the best team in the Big 12. I think Texas is not going to have as steep of a fall-off as I had expected, because Madison Booker is out here getting nearly triple-doubles and putting on against ranked teams like West Virginia. So it's going to be interesting to kind of follow this race and see if Texas can kind of get back up to where they were with Rory Harmon. But right now, Baylor looks incredible. And I'm eating words when it comes to my doubt that I've been kind of internalizing about Baylor. The more I watch them, the better I feel about them and the way that they're getting wins. It's going to be exciting to see if they can be dominant across the Big 12 this year. The Big 12 is not the best conference when it comes to the Power 5. I'd say they're towards the bottom end of that, and Baylor has the opportunity, really outside of Texas, to be dominant, and I'm excited to see if they're able to make that happen, because they dominated Houston and they dominated TCU this week in that second half. So I'm interested to see how they can keep it up going forward. Last but not least, let's talk about the number 1 team in the nation, South Carolina, and the thing I want to talk about is their depth. And what's interesting about their depth to me is that it's not some super experienced depth or anything like that. It's just the energy that they bring. Ashlyn Watkins, Mylasia Fulwiley, and Tessa Johnson. All 3 of them bringing different types of energy, but energy nonetheless coming off the bench for South Carolina. And my thought process is like, I'm watching this game that they play against Mississippi State, and Mississippi State comes out pretty solid overall. Like when it comes to, they keep the game relatively close, single digits, and then you see the bench check in, and Mississippi State, it's not like they just like fell apart or anything, but just the idea hit me like, you can't take a breath against South Carolina. I don't know. I don't know if they're the most talented team. I wouldn't say they're the most talented team in the nation, but you sure can't take a breath against them. 1 second of relaxation, and next thing you know, you're down by 8. You're down by double digits because they just go on a run so quickly with the energy that they have, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. Listen, we know what Don Staley's about when it comes to defense, and their defensive energy throughout the game. I mean, if the starters don't dominate you, you got the bench coming in, and they're just going to keep going at you over and over. The balance that they have from the starters to the bench, and also just overall balance in general about this team on the offensive side of the ball, being able to shoot the 3 ball a little bit better this year, definitely better this year, but also mixing in the post touches with Cardoso down low. I mean, South Carolina looks complete. I mean, they're the number 1 team in the nation for a reason, but their bench really stuck out to me as just, I can't imagine being the opposing team thinking like, oh, okay, they're bringing subs in, here comes the bench, and that's the talent that's coming off the bench. For South Carolina, they're stacked. I mean, this is the machine, the monster program that Dawn Staley has built in South Carolina, and because of that, she has so many resources, so many just different types of ways to switch stuff up with different lineups and different people in, and I mean, she has a rich amount of talent, and it's a big reason why South Carolina is the number 1 team in the nation. It's just being able to mix and match all of that talent together. They might not be the most talented team in the nation, but man, I don't know if there's a team out there that's going to work harder than them. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for my 3 takeaways from this past week in women's basketball. Let me know what you think and what your takeaways are down below.